Jane Hedengren, welcome to the Call Room Road to Seattle. A privilege to welcome you on as the first guest. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Jane, let's go back like a little over a year ago. Last year's Brooks PR was your first ever PR meet. What do you remember from getting the invitation?
I remember I was so excited. I had just finished up with a swim and I'd gotten a notification from email that I was invited to this amazing meet, and this meet has always been a dream. Um I feel like for the high school level, if you get invited to Brooks, you've kind of made it, and that's yeah, it was just so exciting. And I texted my coach and we were just super excited planning out what event I would want to do there. So, yeah.
As you were growing up and coming into the sport, were there ever any previous editions of the meet that you watched or athletes who ran it that you looked up to?
Oh, for sure. Like seeing Juliet Whitaker win the mile the year previous, or yeah, I feel like it's just a big meet. Times always go down. So, yeah, I've watched definitely tons of races from this meet and have just always been very impressed and excited at the opportunity to be back here this year. So,
You mentioned Juliet Whitaker. You ultimately took down her meet record. I believe it's called meet record. We'll get into that race, but going into the race, going into the weekend, I remember discussing this a little bit the first time I had you on the podcast last year, but like, were you expecting to break the record of someone who a year ago you were watching on the TV?
I was. I don't know exactly why I was, but I remember telling my coach, I was like, "I wanna run 4:35," and she was like, "Okay, I think we're in good shape to do that." But yeah, I would came into the meet not the favorite. Maybe, like, 2nd, 3rd seed, maybe 4th. So, yeah, but I just had so much confidence, and my training had been going very smoothly, which was awesome. Consistent training is always a big blessing, especially coming into bigger meets. And yeah, I knew that it was going to be fast, and luckily we ran it smart to the way that the paces per lap were pretty even, and so it made for a fast time. And yeah, I was just really excited coming off that weekend.
How important do you think that confidence piece is? Like, if you weren't that confident, you probably wouldn't have won the meet, wouldn't have run a meet record. How important do you feel like that confidence piece was going into the meet, even if you didn't have the external validation?
So important, and I think that's what got me through that last 200 meters. Was realizing that I could win it, and I just had to run smart the last little bit to get around girls and hopefully getting it in a good finish at the last few moments. But yeah, confidence is huge. Like, definitely one of the biggest things that you want to prioritize coming into championship races. Even if training hasn't been so consistent, you can still work on your mental and your confidence, and yeah, just the mental outlook on the race and that aspect of it.
So Juliet Whitaker, we mentioned her a minute ago, also former podcast guest. She ran 4:36:24, I think in 2022. You ran 4 minutes, 35.69 seconds, winning the girls mile title and again, setting the meet record. What did it mean to you? And coming across the line, did you realize you had the meet record? When did you find out you got it?
Yeah, so there's a cute, photo after that, like, my uncle had took, and I was just so surprised, just staring at the board, jaw drop, because I didn't realize what my finishing time was. Yeah, I didn't know the paces throughout the whole race, I really didn't, so, just seeing that we had finished in a great finish was very, very exciting, and that weekend, I was just so stoked to be there, and walking away with a lot of confidence, and just was very excited. I remember calling some family back home and my coach, and I just couldn't stop smiling. And it didn't even set in until weeks later what that I had actually won that meet. So yeah.
Not saying that there aren't years where the mile or 2 mile aren't tactical, but I generally feel like high schoolers do such a good job at the Brooks PR meet of like racing to win. And with that comes the fast time. How aware in the race were you of the time? Because it seemed like you, Tatum, and Carrie, if I'm not mistaken, were kind of going at it and keeping the pace on. You were racing each other, which kept the pace honest. How aware were you of the pace? And do you feel like when you compete, the times come with it?
Right. Yeah, I do think that competing always brings fast times. This past like the past couple weekends ago, we raced at Nike, and we ended up coming through really slow, our first mile, but then we actually ended up getting in a good finish because our last mile was just, very fast, and we were competing to win. So I think competing to win always can bring through quite a fast time. And also, yeah, I wasn't very sure what the time was during the race or what splits were. My main priority and goal was just to compete, and that's an awesome opportunity I have at these bigger meets is to compete, because at smaller meets sometimes I'm running alone or it's maybe more of a time trial. And so me and my coach, we always have the goal of just go in to compete, stay in a good spot, and give yourself the opportunity to have like a successful race where to the point where you're drafting and staying in lane one as best you can. And so, yeah, I was just really excited to be able to race. And something that's kind of funny about competing rather than time trialing is the more I race, uh, I get way less nervous actually to compete against girls because I always know I'm going to throw down the best I can on the day. Rather than time trialing, sometimes I get a little bit more nervous because I don't know if I'm going to screw up the pacing or whatnot, and be happy with it. So, yeah, definitely fun to compete.
If I'm remembering correctly from the girls' mile race last year being there, when you made your move, you made it decisive, and that was kind of the end of the race. It was like you won with that move. How important, as someone who goes to so many of these big races, is it to, when you make the move, making it decisive?
For sure. Yeah, because you wanna just see how best you can finish and get in that last little bit. Because if you give them the option to stick around, they're gonna stick around, and so I just came through the last 100 meters. It wasn't a big move because it was just in the last little bit, not so much like a half mile to go or something, but rather just in the last little sprint. So, um yeah, at that point, I think, we were just all trying to drive home, see how fast we could get in and how fast we could place, so, yeah.
I'm curious to dive into like the non-racing aspect in the sense of, Brooks puts on this massive meet and there's so much to the event rather than just the 4 minutes and 35 seconds that you're racing. How do you stay dialed in before the race where you're flying in from Utah? You have dinner the night before, you're hanging out with other athletes. How do you have fun while also staying focused on the task at hand and why you're there in the first place?
Totally, I think, just trying to make sure you're getting enough food throughout that, like, traveling day and enough water, things like that, keeping the recovery good. But besides that, just enjoy your time because there's some athletes there that you've never met, and it's just a really, really fun and cool opportunity. And so I think once like it's time to warm up, then you can really get dialed in and super focused. And um, yeah, but the day before or, even the day of, you can still watch races and just enjoy your time there because it is definitely an amazing opportunity and, just a very fun time.
I want to say later that week you ran 9:54 at Nike Outdoor Nationals. You set the sophomore 2 mile record. So you kind of like knocked track out of the park. I talked to you on the podcast for the first time, I want to say like a month or two later. And we were discussing your cross country season. You open up at Woodbridge. Take me through that performance in cross. I believe you won it. It came down to a final kick. It was either you or Elizabeth. I want to say you won it. Take me through that race.
Yeah, that race was, super fun. I just loved it. The 2 weeks prior, I'd gotten the flu, and so I had actually had to take, like, 4 days off, completely off, and that long run that week was, like, 4 miles at, like, 8-minute pace, and my heart rate was 160. So, I was just glad to be healthy again and, glad to open up my season at a big meet, and, yeah, it came down very close, but yeah, in California, it's pretty cool. They don't actually allow spikes at that race, so I was just in trainers, and we came through the first mile pretty quick, but there was a gap between us and Elizabeth, the pack and Elizabeth. And what surprised me is no one was really going up there to try to catch her at that point. And so I was like, well, she's getting away from us, so someone's got to do something. And so I made a move and I caught on her. Girls actually didn't really come with me, which again surprised me a little bit. But yeah, we ended up coming through pretty even splits, which is awesome because it just makes for a fast time. And then that last half mile, uh, I felt really smooth until that last half mile, and that last half mile, my legs were really feeling it. And so I was just doing my very best to hold on. Um, and I could hear Elizabeth's coach yelling at her, giving her some pointers on her stride and such. And she did a really good job of opening up that last half mile. And so I was just hanging on for dear life. And I knew that if I could just get to the last like 200 meters, then that would give me the shot of maybe winning this thing. Um, because I do have some good leg speed and a good kick. And so, yeah, I just sat there right behind her, got a little bit of a draft, and then that last 100, we were just driving it home together, and it was very, very close, but I ended up coming through just a little bit ahead of her.
You win Woodbridge, you run a super fast time. I think it was like an amazing start to the season, specifically now that I know the context of having the flu the week before, which is remarkable. Take me through that point and then ultimately developing a stress fracture and what that process was like of finding that news out.
Yeah, so I was actually running on that stress reaction for Woodbridge, I believe. So I was just kind of dumb with it, to be quite honest. Like I was running on pain in my shin for months, and yes, I did get it needled and like dry scraping at the PT, but I didn't really take time off and let it heal. And so a week after, I found out, and with MRIs, and it was a stress reaction, and that was pretty sad. I was just because I wasn't expecting it. Because some runs I would feel great and have absolutely no pain, but then other runs, it would bug me quite a bit. And so that was pretty heartbreaking to know that I had to take a couple weeks off and that my cross season would probably be done at that point. Um, so yeah, definitely a quick turnaround from riding the highs of winning Woodbridge and whatnot, and then to finding out I had a stress reaction. But yeah, so that injury was just pretty tough. It came back so many times. So I took like 4 weeks off, and then tried running state actually to help my team out, and possibly if we could win, that would just be amazing. And so I didn't run for 4 weeks, and then I jumped in that race off of no running, and we ended up winning that day, which was very exciting and just a great memory to look back on. But then things started flaring up again, and yeah, it just flared up so many times coming back. I was so inconsistent for about 4 months, but I was really happy to get some consistent training under me starting about mid January. So,
Your personal result at state, what did you place?
first. Yeah.
Yeah. You're too humble there. So let me get this right. You didn't run for 4 weeks and then you win one of the most stacked states in the country.
Oh man. I don't know if the girls' side is quite as competitive. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I just love our girls from Utah, but we aren't as competitive as the guys' side. So, yes, I did win, but we are also 5A. Like American Fork Airmen, they're all 6A. So, yeah,
That's still nuts. That's still nuts.
thank you.
Despite like going through the adversity, I'm sure it was incredibly heartbreaking, but do you feel like moments looking back of being able to win a state title individually as a team, you can at least look back on that time period with some smiles?
For sure. And as hard as injuries are going through it, um, I always learn so much from them. And so, um, yeah, I was dealing with quite a bit of tendonitis my sophomore year for cross season. I've actually never had a healthy cross season. So, once I do, I'll be very excited. But yeah, sophomore year, lots of tendonitis. I was able to learn some stuff from that, and then this year with my bone injury, I was able to learn more about caloric intake and nutrition and just the needs of my body, and cuz I wasn't quite getting enough of certain macronutrients. So, yeah, always very helpful to learn, but very hard in the moment.
Were there any other major lessons you learned through the time and process of going through that injury?
I think just with injuries, me and my coach really emphasize the importance of just taking things one day at a time, because it can be very like just sad to just know that you have 6 weeks in front of you of no running, or just days after days in the pool. It's very hard. And so, yeah, just being patient and knowing that I'd have my time someday, and that I'm able to progress and like, I'll be able to learn from this and hopefully be able to apply it to future days so I won't have these problems in the future. So, yeah.
What advice would you give to someone listening who's going through an injury, maybe specifically like you were, where the previous season, the previous months of training leading into it were so positive that it almost makes the hit of injury all the more like depressing, for lack of a better word? What would you
Yeah.
advise them as they go through this tough time?
Ooh, I'll need to think about this one for a second because I've been trying to think of a good answer. Because yeah, injuries just suck. So, just to trust in your coach and to in your doctors as well. And so the time coming back, you'll be able to be as healthy as quickly as possible through their profession and just knowing a lot more than you do about the injury and coming back. So trusting in that, and then also just reflecting on the good moments that because injuries can be pretty sad some days, and so just looking back and be like, oh, this was such a fun meet, such as Brooks PR or Nike Outdoor Nationals, and maybe looking through photos of that and reflecting on the great times and realizing that you will have your time again. Um, it might be very hard right now, and you might have a couple more months until you're back at that, but people can get in great shape in just a couple months, and um yeah, so every time uh you there is injury, it can make you very resilient and just a lot tougher and just enjoy running again. And yeah, so when I took the couple months off, it was very much a bummer because the weather was just starting to get awesome for fall and things. And so I was just really looking forward to being able to get back to running. And then once I do, it's just way more happy because you're just doing what you love. So
Of course, as you get injured, the running world doesn't stop. People keep running, the races still go on. How did you deal with that? Did you get off social media? And what was it like seeing so many people run fast times and not being able to be a part of it? Specifically, given that you did beat Elizabeth, who went on to win Foot Locker and was the favorite going into NXN. I'm sure that stings a little bit where you got one race where you knocked it out of the park and it's like, what could have been?
yeah, yeah, it definitely did sting a little bit, especially since at that point I had really done honestly no workouts. Like I'd done some tempos, some hills, just a lot of base training because obviously I would want to peak in December if I was healthy throughout the whole season. And so we were just starting to get to the fun part of maybe doing some 800 repeats or mile repeats. And so I was not even close to how great a shape I would have been in last season. And so again, I'm just very excited to possibly for my senior season to have a great season where I'm healthy because I think there's a lot of potential there. But yeah, it was very hard seeing like people just I don't know, just having great times or yeah, just being really fit. That was awesome to see because I could cheer them on. Um, and I just kind of knew inside me that like I will have my moment again. I will. I'm not done. Sure, I haven't run in like 6 weeks at that point or like however long it was, but I will be back. And so for the time being, I can cheer them on. I can text them great job. Um, I can show up to support my personal team and yeah, so just cheering on and realizing I will be back and if I could put some of that motivation that I see from, like, just seeing girls run so fast or maybe my teammates running so fast in the pool, like, sometimes I would just go to watch my teammates work out, and help with splits and whatnot, and then, my swim would just go so much better that day because I was just riding the highs of just them seeing them doing so well and, enjoying the process, so
I think a lot of people, including myself at times, when they're coming back from injury, they think that they lost all fitness and it's going to take literally forever to get back to really good shape. For you, I feel like you kind of proved that that's not the case with how well you ran at Nike Indoor Nationals. How many weeks into training did you feel like you got your legs back under you and you started to feel somewhat fit again?
ooh, I would say it was kind of weird for me because Um, when I was just starting to feel good again and my shin pain went away, I got the flu. And so that was so hard. So I had to take like a another couple days off or a week off, and training just kinda sucked at that point because every day I was averaging, like, 165 for my heart rate because I was still sick and I was still coming back, and so I just honestly felt really bad for a couple weeks there, and then I ended up getting COVID again, like, maybe, like, a month after that, and so lots of sickness, and that also had some inconsistency around it as well, but, I think probably a month or so or a month and a half, I started feeling okay again, and started getting excited about, being at almost times where I was, like, last track season, or, like, yeah, just feeling pretty fit again.
If I'm not mistaken, at the Nike Indoor National Meet, you ran 9:49. Was that your only indoor race, or did you do others?
Yeah, so I did 2 others. I did
Okay.
a mile race in Utah, and then I did a 2-mile race in Idaho.
Okay. Okay. So you run 9:49 to cap off the indoor season. What was that like? A PR runs 5 seconds faster than you did outdoors. Do you feel like that gave you some momentum coming into the outdoor season of like, okay, it's time to go again. We're getting there.
Yes, for sure, and I think momentum is a great way to describe that race because, yeah, I just felt good and I felt strong, and, the week before I actually was sick once again. I don't
Man,
know what it
setback
is.
after setback.
I know, and it's right before races too, I swear, like, even last year before Arcadia, like, I took, like, 4 days off because of a flare-up, or, like, this past week, I took, like, 3 days off because of a flare-up, and Arcadia's this next week. So, it always is, like, a little weird before big meets. I don't know, there's always just something, but it does allow for a little bit of more of a taper, so maybe I just come in a little bit more fresh. But for Nike, I came through, yeah, we came through pretty slow, like 5:05 first mile, and then, I dropped it down to a 4:44, Elizabeth 4:39, but it was just exciting because I felt like I could race again, and I could be in the mix, and possibly give Elizabeth some more competition, and, yeah, I'm just excited going forward because I think there's still things tactically to improve upon, um, and again, as the months go on, I'm just gonna keep building momentum and fitness, because obviously I'm peaking in June, and so, yeah, I'll just be able to do some harder workouts under me, some more track work, and I think that will be great for me come June and Brooks and things, so
You mentioned Arcadia this upcoming weekend. Arcadia's, in my opinion, it's like the national meet before the national meet. It's kind of like the national meet 2 months before the national meet.
totally, yeah.
What's the thought process going into it? How do you feel, and what's your overall mindset going into this one?
Mhm. I feel good. Um, like I was saying, I have taken, like, this past week, I took, like, 3 days in the pool because my shin actually was flaring up again, and so I just wanna be smart about that because I do wanna have a good, long, healthy season. Um, but yeah, I'm feeling really good. I think training has been going well. Um, we're just starting to shift into a little bit more track work, which is exciting. But I think I'm fit. I haven't really ran a fast mile yet this season, and so I'm excited to put one down. Hopefully I can be in the mix and give whoever there some competition and be able to run through pretty fast. But I'm feeling good. I think I'm capable of something really fast right now, and yeah, I'm just excited to see how it'll go. My mindset kind of going in is just uh, always just to perform to the best of my ability and do the best I can on the day. And I think I'll always be happy with whatever the outcome is if I'm doing the best I can because it's just data. And let's say, I don't know, it ends up going poorly, and but then so me and my coach can adjust and uh, look forward to the future in a different way, or if it goes great, that's awesome. Just some momentum. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very excited.
I know some states start their track seasons earlier. Utah may be one of those. Have you raced thus far this season, or is this your season opener?
Yes, I have. So, I don't know about racing, but I have done 3 events and I just qualified for state. So, maybe not all out efforts, a bit more conservative, but I'm really looking forward to state, and I thought this past weekend would be a great opportunity to just get those out of the way. So, yeah.
When is state? You guys must have it so early.
No, we don't actually, but I'm just gonna be like, I don't know. Some of the meets we have this season don't really work out too well with the schedule and timing of things, so I thought I'd just get them out of the way right now. But yeah, May 15th is our state
Okay.
around there, I
That's
think.
still
Yeah,
earlier.
it
Like
is
Ohio, it's
definitely.
like the first Saturday of June. I
Wow.
feel like a lot of other states are like that, although I think it's on the later end. So,
Yeah.
wait, so
Which
do you
one?
qualify through time then? Or is it
Yes. Yeah. Isn't
really?
that interesting? Yes.
Is that the only
It's
state like that?
I don't know, but yeah, you just have to do it once and then you're good.
I
So
kind of like that. It keeps
it's
it
very
fair.
nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there are always debates in Ohio of like what regions are too stacked because
Mhm.
all, depending on how big the region is, that region will get more spots. And so people always compare times and be like,
Uh,
oh, if this kid was in that region, he would have made it. But because we only got this amount of spots. So that's
right. Well,
politically smart from Utah.
yes, there is also you can qualify at the region meet, but you also can just qualify through time. So
Okay.
either one works. Yeah.
That's fascinating. That's so
Yeah.
fascinating. So does it is it like a breath of fresh air that you qualified for the state meet or just not at all given you're on another level? I know you won't admit that, but I can admit it.
um, yeah, definitely a breath of fresh air because who knows how I'll be feeling come these other meets. Like maybe I'll sprain my ankle or be sick again. So I'm just excited to get them out of the way and looking forward to state. So
Have the Arcadia entries come out? And if so, how much do you pay attention to who's entered into which race and how that formulates a game plan for you?
yeah, I'm assuming they have. I've not looked, but I think I saw something on Instagram that they were out. So yeah.
Okay. You just like, I'm gonna wait to look. Like, will you look at all, or will you get on the start line and you'll be like, "Oh, you're in my race? I didn't know."
I think I'll just wait to the start line to be honest. But
Okay.
I think Sadie might be doing the race. I should definitely check on this. But I did text her like a couple weeks ago and she said she was gonna either do the 2 mile or the mile is what I'm thinking. And so I don't know. I guess I should probably check that because that will might change my race plan and whatnot. But yeah.
Okay, so you have Arcadia, State Meet, May 15th ish. Any other big races before you race Brooks PR?
Yes. So the one there's one on like May 4th, and that's called the BYU Invitational. And I'm definitely going to be going all out for that one. I'm not sure. I'm thinking I'll do the mile at that one, but I just love that meet. It's honestly probably one of my favorite meets, which is kind of funny because it's like very Utah, I guess. Like not a lot of different people come from it, and it's not always a lot of competition, but I just love it. Like the weather's so nice, the BYU track is awesome, and yeah, I think it's always just a very fun meet.
Are there any workouts you've done recently in training, like one or two workouts that have given you confidence going into Arcadia?
Yeah, so I think we've kind of been doing a lot more on the strength side of things as of recently. Like, we honestly haven't done a lot of speed, and but we did do this one workout just a week or two ago, and we ended up doing 9 by 400, and that is a perfect miler workout in my book. And so, yeah, that one was super fun. I was kind of done with pacing, to be quite honest. Like my coach wanted me starting out at 69s for the first three, 67s for the next three, and then 65s for the next three. But I just started out too fast. But she still wanted me to drop. So I think that workout ended up being harder than it was supposed to, but it was very fun, and I was just doing it alone. But yeah, yeah, that
Do
one
you
was
remember
very
what the
good.
splits were?
Ooh, I can pull them up. I think because I always just keep track on my little like Strava app so then I can look back on these things. But I think I averaged about a
Oh my
65.5
gosh. For
around
9
there.
by
So maybe I
400?
started I'm not, yeah.
You're too casual about these things. That's unreal. 65s is nuts. So
Okay,
crazy.
I don't have service, but I think I
You're good.
started out maybe like 66, 67, like 65, and then dropped it down to like 66, 65, 67, something like that, and then 62,
Oh my gosh.
64, 64.
Jeez. You're
Something
ready for
in that
Arcadia.
range.
You're ready
I
for
think
Arcadia.
I think I'm ready to. We will see how things go down, but I'm ready to run my own race for sure.
You're not just a miler. We mentioned the 2 mile as well. You also run the 8 really well. Are there any other opportunities to run different events, off events that you're looking forward to? Maybe to get out of the mindset. I think sometimes it can be really easy to fall into the trap of like doing the same event and wanting to run faster and faster every time. But sometimes it can help to do off events a little bit, even though I wouldn't call those off events for you. Any other opportunities to race those races or even like random 4x4s or 400s or whatever you do?
Yeah, I love 4x4s. That is an awesome race. I don't know if I'm, like, fit to be there necessarily, but I just love it. Yeah, so that's a good one. Definitely love the opportunity to jump in a 4x4. Also the 800, for some reason, I just feel like I have not been able to run a great 800, like, ever. And so I'm hoping that can change this season and maybe I'll be able to run something a bit more quick. But yeah, it's kinda weird to me 'cause, I feel like I do good in the mile, and then the 800 isn't as solid. So, I do have an awesome teammate. She is a sophomore right now. Her name is Lily Alder. She's kind of an 800 specialist, and so I'm so excited to run with her and, hopefully we can compete and come through something fast. She ran a 2:09, no, sorry, a 2:08 as a freshman, and so,
Jeez.
yeah, she's quick. We got her this last, like, fall, she transferred, and we are very lucky to have her, love that girl. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to race the 800, because it's just a different event for sure, so, yeah.
Going back to the start of the conversation to close us out, we were talking about Brooks PR, talking some more Brooks PR. You were invited. Do you know what race you're going to be doing 2024 edition?
Ooh,
Defending
okay.
champ.
Yeah,
Title defense or something new?
I think something new. I'm
Really?
thinking yes. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I thinking I'm gonna do the 2 mile,
Okay.
'cause as of recently, I think Elizabeth might be doing the 2 mile if she doesn't decide to do the 5K at Nike. Um, and so, yeah, I wanna jump back in a 2 mile with that girl because she is just awesome, and I would love to compete again. I'm assuming the field is gonna be stacked because it just always is. Yeah, and just throw down a fast one there. So we'll see if that's a good decision. We'll see after Brooks if that was good. But yeah, and then I'll also be racing the mile like that weekend at Nike. So as long as I get a 2 mile and a mile at the end of the season, I'll be happy. Whether that's the mile at Brooks or the 2 mile. But I'm thinking the 2 miles of now.
Let's close out today's conversation. Two more questions. First one, Brooks related. Second one, not Brooks related. Other Brooks related question. What was your favorite part last year that wasn't the race itself? Favorite moment from the
Ooh,
weekend?
yeah. I think just walking away, like, meeting so many awesome new people, and, the boat cruise was great for that because then we had all raced and nerves were down, and we could just hang out and have fun and enjoy the beautiful scenery. Um, yeah, so that was probably my highlight was the boat cruise. I just loved it, so
Jane, final question for you today. A lot of people listening in high school have high aspirations for their outdoor track season. What would be the final piece of advice to those listening in high school who want to nail their track season? What would you say to them?
yeah, that is a great question. So I think, um, it's it can be very challenging seeing so many people running very fast these days. And um, I think it's hard because sometimes you might have dreams of maybe wanting to become a professional runner or just yeah, just running really fast, possibly even going to the Olympics. And so I think to not give up on those dreams and just to see what happens when you don't give up on those. Because yeah, it can be hard right now, but I think with time and patience, people can surprise themselves quite a bit. And so just giving yourself permission to be great, and to show up for yourself and see what happens.
Jane, really appreciate the conversation, all the insight, all the wisdom. Thank you so much for kicking off the inaugural episode of the Call Room Road to Seattle. I will see you in Seattle. Maybe you're on the mile, maybe you're on the 2 mile. We shall see. Appreciate the conversation and keep crushing it.
Thank you so much.